So that's the title of my talk there. The agenda is sort of, I'll skip over this quickly, just a quick introduction to who we are at Oat Cosmetics. And then I'm going to look at the skin microbiome, the first line of defense. I think we've had some very good slides already on that this morning, so I won't cover that too much. Then look at the sort of specifics of baby care, defining sort of what pre, pro and post-biotics in skincare actually means. And then, how do you make an effective ingredient and prove the efficacy, which is the challenge. So briefly about Oat Cosmetics. We founded back in 1992, mainly to do with sort of the farming side of things, oats and their use as a food source, really. In 2008, some interesting research was coming about different properties. We were looking to sort of expand the business. So created the Oat Cosmetics brand, and from there we've created innovations in milling, manufacturing, and we specialize in oat ingredients for personal care. That includes sort of colloidal oatmeals, oat lipids and oils, up to active ingredients, one of which I'm going to mention today. So in terms of the skin microbiome, I think you just covered it really well this morning. The skin microbiome does on a day-to-day a lot of things. It protects your skin from unfriendly organisms, helps manage the pH. It makes important contributions to the skin barrier, and it helps produce skin nutrients and skin lipids as well. So while those details are still emerging, the difference between the microbiome in dry and normal skin is there. Basically, your skin microbiome makes an important contribution to the things that make your skin feel and look healthier. So in terms of baby care, again, you just covered it. The structure, composition and function in baby skin is different. It influences the microbial colonization, the development of the dermatologic pathology, and the early microbiome development in infants sort of contributes to their future skin pathology. But in terms of how do you test that? Well, it's very difficult to test in the real world. What effect products are having on a baby's skin. Certainly, Carol's just noted ways of looking at that. But it's not like with adult personal care where you can ask questions and feel. You really have to look at it in more depth. Added to that complexity, that really infant skin, just in general, its makeup is more susceptible to the dryness and irritation from external factors. It's finding its way in the world, so there will be things that it likes and doesn't like and may cause a reaction or not. So to really understand what is causing that can be a challenge. Carol mentioned that mild ingredients of products are demanded, and very rightly so. So it's making sure that you use milder ingredients within your products to try and make sure that you are looking after the skin and not damaging the cells, as she mentioned. And the microbiome of the child itself is in its infancy, as George just said, so it's not fully developed. It itself is finding its place in the world. So with all of these areas, there's a real challenge for us as ingredient manufacturers to try and make sure that we're targeting the right areas and creating products that actually are solving real issues and not just something that's happening anyway. So if we look at sort of pre, pro and post-biotics, there's been a real challenge for us in personal care, because a lot of these relate to sort of your food side of things, how these react. When you eat something as probiotic or drink something, on the skin, there wasn't really a definition until quite recently. So we've had to look between the lines as to what we can say. But we've really defined it that a prebiotic is something that sort of recalibrates the microbiome and fortifies the beneficial microflora, promoting healthier skin. So it can provide a healthy and balanced diet for them, help with the adhesion of skin bacteria and the growth in a sort of harmonious way. A probiotic definition would be that it strengthens the skin microbiome and provides relief for various sensitive skin disorders. So where a skin disorder is caused by an imbalance, a probiotic product may well bring that balance back together and help heal the skin. And then a postbiotic effect is something that helps regulate the composition. So really, it keeps things in balance. If you've got a healthy microbiome, you don't want to change and damage that ecosystem. You want to maintain it. It's working for you. So that's how we've sort of tried to define that. So what we've done to specifically target the microbiome, we've started with an ingredient that we have in our portfolio, which is called Oat Com. It's an advanced colloidal oatmeal, and what that is produced from the whole oat kernel. It's actually one of the only few natural ingredients recognized as a skin protectant. So it has an FDA monograph. It has specific requirements, certainly from the US Pharmacopoeia, about how it should be produced. And this is sort of a standard product that's used in a variety of baby care ingredients. So you can see here we've got Aveeno baby care, moisturizing lotion, a baby wash called Oat-derived there. A Polish company here has a baby body lotion. So we've taken a proven, natural, mild, friendly ingredient, and what we've tried to do is put that through a process that makes it more suited to the microbiome. So we've taken the colloidal oatmeal, as I mentioned. What we've done is we introduce a strain of lactobacillus. So we ferment the oat material through this process. It's then pasteurized. And what that does is the Oat Com, the colloidal oatmeal, is then converted to a biomass and organic acids. And from that, we get 3 separate active oat ingredients. We called them the Orifirm range, but they're effectively, you can see from the picture, there's a thick paste-like product, which we call Orifirm P. There's a very clear product, Orifirm S, almost like water type consistency. And then there's a product in between, which is Orifirm N, which is slightly watery, but with some particulate in there. I'm going to focus here on Orifirm P, but what these 3 products do in total is they act to those different areas that I talked about, the post, pro, and prebiotics. So the fermentation process is very interesting. It breaks down the colloidal oatmeal into its constituent parts. So we've got amino acids and vitamin B, antioxidants. And the key here is it makes them more bioavailable. So we look through here, we're looking at the growth of bacteria, looking at the nutritional values of things that are produced through the fermentation process. So you can see here's the profile composition of that biomass. So there's lots more once the product's fermented that's suitable for the bacteria. So it's full of polysaccharides, the long chain sugars, which attract water. It can lubricate the skin and help any imbalances, but they can also form a protective film on the surface. So again, we talked about water loss and penetration of external molecules. That's very important in baby care. And then we looked at what actually that composition was. So using confocal microscopy, we looked at here, and this green here is a sort of semi-digested oat material. And we wanted to see what happened to the lactobacillus after that process. And what we see is that they're confirmed as dead, but they remain intact. So they've not been lysed, and research shows that bacteria will act similarly to them dead in their whole form as it will if they were alive. So that's very interesting in that they will have an effect as a part of the microbiome and part of that ecosystem, despite not actually being alive. We then looked at the next stage as well. That's great what it looks like. What does it look like when it's actually on the skin? And what you can see from this is that the actual lactobacillus are sort of stuck, embedded on this, we call it an oat membrane. So it's an oat-based matrix, and it's very difficult for them to be accessed by microbes on the skin. So it's almost like a slow food. You put it down, it takes a while for them to get themselves embedded in the matrix to be able to digest them. So there's a slow release mechanism here, really, that feeds the microbiome without any vast changes. And I mentioned before the other products that we had from this process. One of them, the Orifirm S, is really a rapid fire. You put it on the skin, the microbiome go crazy for it, eat it. You see quick changes in the composition. This is much more of a slow release, so it maintains and aids that microbiome natural growth rather than being a quick fix. So then we're looking at the effect on the microbiome. We looked at sort of how that could affect the bacterial growth. So we chose S. epidermidis, which was recommended earlier, I mentioned earlier, and then a couple of sort of pathogenic bacteria, so aeruginosa, Corynebacterium. And we measured the effect after 24 hours of ORF-MP. So you can see S. epidermidis saw a big increase in its growth, so it's a good bacteria, as we call it, while some of the more pathogenic bacteria saw a decrease. So what we found this was doing is providing a nice balance and helping to sort of feed the bacteria that are seen as more beneficial for the skin. But interestingly, having looked at the effect on the overall microbiome, remembering we're trying to keep that balance and not affect too many changes, you definitely see that with the untreated skin, there's a lot more of an increase within the different areas over a 10-day period, this was, versus when you use the product that contained ORF-MP. So we are maintaining that balance, but at the same time, we're aiding some of the good bacteria on the skin. And that sort of highlighted even more by looking at this, which goes into lists and lists of the different bacteria that we affected. But the main thing was there with that slide, so is that the natural ratio is maintained when using ORF-MP versus the natural swings that you get for an untreated test. So in conclusion, my time is up. I think in personal care, both baby care and the microbiome are big challenges, and combining both is even more of a challenge for an ingredient manufacturer. But when choosing ingredients, it's worth looking at sort of proven gentle ingredients that have been used in baby care and how we can improve those. And then when looking at efficacy, make sure that ingredients are tested on prevalent skin bacteria. They aren't making the false claims. For example, you hear companies saying, well, it's probiotic, but it has no living bacteria within it. So there are some issues there. Make sure that the bacterial concentration and the viability is understood, and question whether the ingredient does more. I've been talking purely on the microbiome side of things, but colloidal oatmeal and the Orifirm products and other ingredients out there have more skin beneficial properties. So whether that is reducing redness, firming and plumping of the skin, there are other things out there. And I think it's important in the baby care market, certainly it's the next generation, the people that are going to inherit the earth, that we try and use natural and sustainable ingredients wherever possible, so that the world is a better place going forwards. And on that note, thank you very much.